Okay, since we are not very many people, okay, if you want, you can unmute yourself and participate as well, ask question and interrupt me if you want, and yeah, participate in the session. That's all right, okay? So feel free to unmute yourself and speak whenever you want and participate in it. Okay. So welcome to this session on designing a dashboard in Excel. And basically, I have designed this dashboard, and what I propose you is to redesign it together, to go through the different steps to achieve such a dashboard, okay, with a map localizing the different areas of sales, we could say, and a column chart showing the sales by country. We have on the upper left two slicers, one slicer for the countries and one slicer for the year. We have a line chart showing the sales per month for the two different years, 2019, 2020, and the top 10 quantities sold of products, and two scorecard, we can call them scorecard, showing a figure in it. So one is showing, okay, the average quantity, and the other one shows the average sales. And actually, okay, the slicers. I'm opening the other side, but I need to mute that. Sorry. Okay. Good. Okay, so the slicer gives the possibility to, well, as its name implies, okay, the slicer slices the data or filters the data, we can say. So if I click on Kenya, we are going to see the figures of Kenya. So let's click on that. Okay. The first time I click it, okay, it goes through the process of filtering all the data, and now we have seen it adjusts the different visualization to reflect the sales of Kenya. And of course, if I click on Tanzania, we are going to see the sales of Tanzania. And Uganda, yeah, it's a bit more flagrant. Now it has changed. Okay, it took a bit time to change. So now we see the sales of Tanzania. The map has adjusted as well. We can see just Tanzania here. We don't see any more Kenya and Uganda. And the same, if I click on 2019, I can concentrate on the sales of 2019 in particular, and then 2020 and so on. So we can navigate through the data or slice the data, filter it, and obtain only a view of what we want for that data. So for all the, I mean, unless this one is not linked to the slicers, but the rest, they are all linked to the slicer and reflect the sales for the specific year or the specific the specific country. So I check at the same time here. Okay. So just before to start, so quick introduction. My name is David. I am a business intelligence consultant for Fumastra Management Consulting. And when I am a Microsoft certified data analyst, Microsoft certified professional as well. So that's the old certification. Now it has been replaced by this one, but because I obtained it recently and it's valid for 2020, well, I show it as well. And it was some good work to obtain it, so it's worth showing it. Microsoft certified solutions associate in BI, so in business intelligence reporting. Then I have also a certification in Azure fundamentals. Microsoft Azure is cloud computing, so it's well, computing in the cloud, okay, virtualization of resources, of compute power, data storage in the cloud, a virtual machine in the cloud, and other processes as well that are stored in the cloud. And when I am also a Microsoft certified trainer for the year 2020 and 2021. So certified trainer, mainly in business intelligence, data analysis, and Microsoft Office tools like Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, Power BI, whatever. Okay, so I actually animate also several groups. Well, together with my colleague Marvin Sekandi, who is also on the call today with us, we animate another group. So, okay, first, there is this group, okay, Microsoft Business Intelligence, if you want to keep updated and know when we have events like this one, be informed and participate in those events where you can register with that group, so you will be informed whenever there is an event coming up, and you will be able to participate, ask questions, and get the answers you need. It's mainly about data, data visualization, data techniques in general. So in Excel from one side, but also in Power BI, knowing that between Excel and Power BI, there are a lot of tools that are similar, like Power Query, Power Pivot, that maybe you might not be very familiar with it, but they are common. And actually, Power Query, Power Pivot are also found in SQL Server Analysis Services, which is the professional tool for manipulation of data or creating data models in SQL Server. But those same tools are also found in the cloud as well. So because now the move is to have everything on the cloud and not anymore locally hosted. So all those tools are also found in the cloud. Power Query in the cloud, Power BI in the cloud. Well, even Excel is also made available now in the cloud. Through your browser, you can browse to Excel from your browser and access different resources from your browser. So a lot of those tools that we can see in Excel exist in other solutions as well from Microsoft. So, well, that's what the group is about. Data manipulation, data techniques to clean it, to process it, to transform it, create data models, and finally analysis and dashboard like the one we are going to go through together. So this group, so again, if you want, you can register with that. There is also another group that, again, with my colleague Marvin, who is the Chief Excel Officer of Vinix Software Solution, and also the animator and administrator of an Excel group that we animate in WhatsApp. We have, okay, the Microsoft 365 Office Productivity Uganda group that we animate as well. So actually, for this group, we have an event on Friday 7 p.m. So it's after tomorrow in 2 days. And that event will be mainly about, well, each event is about Microsoft 365. So the suite of application. And it's broad, it's very broad. We have many applications that are available. The most common one are Excel, Word, and Power Apps, but we have many other applications, as we can see here. Power Apps, some of the most recent one like Power Apps, Power Automate, and we retrieve Power BI here and Outlook, and List. The most recent one is Microsoft List. We have Microsoft Form. It's okay. We have plenty of application, and maybe, well, some of you might not be very familiar with those applications, and it might be confusing as well. What is List compared to Excel, and what is Form, and how do we use it, and what is Power Apps, and all that things. So, Well, that group is about knowing how to use each of those applications so that they can help you also within your work, okay, so that you can better perform. Maybe you will need to collect data using Excel and then import those data inside Word, and maybe maintain those data with updating them or creating more entries using eventually Power Apps if you have a team that you know, need to enter data, correct data, update data. A list, it could be, well, we talk about list, we have Microsoft List here. So yes, all those applications, well, we will try to go through them and explain what they do, okay? So that's what the group is about. So Friday after tomorrow, we will have an event which is about collaboration. So how do we collaborate with the team using Microsoft 365? So it will be mainly about OneDrive, OneDrive in the cloud. So that's the storage in the cloud, OneDrive with 1 terabyte of storage. Sharing the files, okay, with the teamwork. We don't send anymore emails with attachment. That's the old-fashioned way. And actually, there was someone, our member, who asked. File sharing is done, okay, in non-professional way. In example, okay, through emails and WhatsApp. We've heard about Microsoft 365 being a collaboration tool. How can it improve our file sharing as an organization? So I think it's a typical scenario in which, okay, team members are using emails to send and share files, and at the end, okay, you end up with multiple copies of that files on your computer, on your colleague's computer, different version, modified, and you don't know, okay, which one is what, and it's not the best way. So we'll review that with that event collaboration. SharePoint as well, where SharePoint is the team space for collaboration, like OneDrive, but mainly for team. And Teams as well, of course, the application that we currently use that gives the possibility to teams to work together, to chat, to share a document and work together in a central place. So that's about it. And then the third event actually that I animate as well is about it's about Microsoft Azure Cloud. So we have it here. Okay, so that's the third group about cloud computing. So a bit more specific to virtualization, data storage in the cloud, data manipulation in the cloud, or any activity, networking in the cloud, and everything. So instead of a local resource activity. Okay, so well, that's about me, about the activities in general that we have. Again, if you are interested, don't hesitate to navigate to that meetup group, okay, and join us. All right, so let's go ahead and have a look at our dashboard, and let's see how we can represent that. So we have on the other side the data that constitute the base of our analysis. And we are going to review a lot of things inside here. We have the item, so the product that is sold. We have a buyer, we have a city, and maybe you, okay, I can increase a little bit as well, my screen up. Maybe you can see already that we have a weird logo or weird icon that you might not be used to. So we'll review that as well. The country, then we have the date it has been sold, then we have what we would call, okay, a Boolean data type, which contains either no, either yes, only two type of values. Sometimes it's represented as 0 and 1, so that, or true or false, it's the same as well. So that's what we call a Boolean data type. We have the cost, quantity, and then total. Okay, and at the end we are going to obtain that dashboard. So we are going to go through the steps together. Let's unhide. So again, feel free to interrupt me if you want. If you want to unmute and ask question, no problem. Okay, so I have prepared the raw data on this tab, and maybe, okay, that's how you receive the data at the origin. Okay, so you have your IT department who provided you that file and tell you, okay, well, deal with it and do some analysis with that. Okay, so it arrives raw, okay, and well, we can see we have item. Luckily, it looks clean also. It doesn't seem too much messy, but we don't have the right information. So we have a date, but we can see that the date is not properly formatted. We have a cost and a quantity and a total, but maybe, okay, the cost and the total could be formatted as a currency to make sure that we are dealing with currency as compared with a quantity. So let's format all that. What I like to do first, okay, with a range of data like this, is to transform that into a table. That's the first thing I do. That's very important. And tables are very powerful. So we are going to go into the Insert tab, click on Table, and validate, okay, the data range. Automatically, Excel has recognized the range of data that we could insert as our table. So, well, the range is correct. And our table has headers, so that's fine as well. The headers is the first row that identifies each column. So we validate that, and we have created our table. We can also increase the size of each column such that we can see better the content of each. And now we have our table. So when we create a table in Excel, automatically we have a new tab which is created, which is called Table Design. Note that when you are outside of your table, you don't have that tab available. So if you want to display that tab, you need to click within your table and it comes. So we click on that, and the first thing I do always is rename our table so that we know what table we are dealing with. So we are going to actually, I'm just realizing we might have. I would better go in a new. Let's go in a new file. We are going to go in a new file. Okay, here we have. Okay, so let's repeat. The one step we can do, and maybe I should not have done this like this, but. Okay, let's back. Control A to select everything, Control C, Alt Tab to navigate to the other one. Then I want just the data. Okay, so the shortcut key, instead of going to insert and table, the shortcut key is Control T, T like table, Control T for the shortcut key. Okay. I forgot my my headers here. Okay. And insert. Okay. That's. Oops. Clear all. Okay. Allez up. We'll do with that. Okay. Control T is the shortcut key that works very well as well. So, all right, we have our table. We said we are going to go inside the table design, rename our table. We name it data table. So I like always to name my tables and to add at the end TBL to make clear that this is a table compared to other named ranges that we could have. All right, so let's review what we have inside our table. We have the item. It looks good inside. So it's a good practice to review always the data that we have and make sure they are clean. Today, the subject is not about cleaning, but designing a dashboard. So we are not going to spend time, and there is no need actually of cleaning. It's all good. We have the city. We have the date sold. Here we need to transform the date. So a date in Excel is always a number, okay? 0 being the 1st of January of 1900. And well, we could display it here as well if we have 0 and we change the format of the date. We give it the date. Yeah, that would be the, well, 00 of the 01 of the 1900. Okay, so that's the very first date in Excel. And any number after that is any number of days after that very first date. So here we have a date, but represented as a number, so we need to change that. Okay, let's select everything. Control Shift downward arrow to select the entire column. We can go to the Home tab. Then we click on the number formatting. We choose a date. So because we have quite often problems with the dates and between American standards and European standards, UK standard or what we use in Uganda, I like to use always that date that displays a month in short, okay, in 3 letters, so we are sure of the month. And like this, okay, we are sure that the second set of digits represent the month and not the contrary. That's very important. And we can see that all our dates are correctly identified as dates. That's perfect. Okay. Now let's do for the cost. We are going to select that column and the other one as well. And we are going to home and number currency. We're going to transform all that as a currency. Very good. And yeah, and this one we are going to format it with a comma separator. So I like to use this one so that we can better identify the 1000. Okay, that's it. We have formatted our data. What we need to do with that, we are going to use a new feature which is available in Microsoft 365, and it is in the data tab, and it is mainly the geography data type. Which actually in Power BI it's called a data category, so it's more of a category than a data type. So this step is going to identify that data type as a country or as a location. In that case, okay, our column is named city, so Excel is smart enough to recognize that all values within that column for city will be cities and not countries. But that's very powerful. So let's review that. We are going to click on the data type, data tab, and within the data types group, we are going to click on geography. We click on that. Excel is going to, okay, process the information, do some research online, mainly interrogate Bing Map, and identify that location of Entebbe as being an official location in Bing Maps. And what it adds with that, we have access, we have this little icon that popped up when we select that column. Because those values are identified as cities, we have now access to a whole range of things, of information that we can extract as well. So because we have the city, we can extract the official abbreviation for that city, the administrative division for that city, the area, the country region, description, latitude, well, leader. So we know our leaders, so it's fine. Learn more on link, longitude, well, all set of information, even population as registered in Wikipedia, I think. So actually, we can also click on that little icon here. It shows the card. Yeah, we can see, okay, the information comes from Wikipedia. I can try and increase a bit that view up. Okay. So most of the information is coming from Wikipedia, okay, when we display that. And well, we can see that for Entebbe, it belongs to Wakiso district, Uganda. The leader is, well, the mayor in that case, okay, it's Vincent Kayanja and so on. So a lot of very useful information, very, very good. And so what we want, okay, we want to extract the country for that. So we are going to extract the country. So we can just go there, click on that little icon and choose country region. Hopla, and then we have the country. We can reorganize our columns and bring it just beside the cities. And that's it. We have extracted in one very simple step the country for those cities. Very powerful, very, very nice. All right, so to create our dashboard, we have all the data that we want. We have transformed our data set into a table, renamed our table with a meaningful name, transform the format of the date to have something clearly identified as a date, formatted also the cost and the total and the quantity as a comma separated value, and used the newly available data types inside the data tab of the Excel ribbon. Very powerful, and we have extracted the city. Now with that, what we are going to do, we are going to go inside Power Pivot, and that's available since 2010, since Excel 2010. Just that in previous version, you might not have available Power Pivot. You would need to, you would then need to activate it and download it and add it. Okay, but it's possible to have it since 2010. So we are going to add to the data model. We add it to the data model so that we can create our report with that. Now we have our table with the name that we gave it before, data table. We have it now inside Power Pivot, in which we are going to create our model. That's where we are going to do our modelization for our dashboard. And here again, it's very important to identify correctly the data type of each field. So for text data type, that's fine. Usually, okay, we don't have much to do. Those one, we can, I'm not so sure if it's available here inside the country. Yeah, data category. So you see that here inside Power Pivot, and it's the same in Power BI actually, okay, that's called a data category, and it has been recognized as a country region, which is fine. So that's very important for mapping, for geolocalization, and that should be a city. It has been uncategorized. We can categorize it as city in our data model in Power Pivot. So that's very important to identify that with the right data category. And then we have dates. So Power Pivot changes a little bit that and adds the time as well. Even though there is no time at all, it's at 0. But yeah, you can see it adds some 0 that are not necessary, that are very useless. So the data type date, it's fine, it's good, but the format, we need to change that to let's choose okay, this one will be fine. The other one we have, okay, different choices of data type, and we can choose eventually more date formats if we want, but let's keep it simple and we use that. That's text, that's okay. That's gonna be a currency. So it has been identified as all number. We need to change that to currency. And we can use, well, it has added the comma separation, so that's fine. Let's increase a bit our column. Then for the quantity, we are going to identify that as a comma, 1,000 separator, okay, as it is called. We don't need the decimals at the end, so we are going to decrease the decimals 2 times, and we are going to apply the currency format to the total. So currency, we can use this one as well. Okay, so English Uganda for Uganda shillings. Okay, so if you don't have English Uganda, you need to review your regional settings for that. What we need to do with that for all data model, most of the time, and it is a good practice to add a date table. Okay, so we are, and in Power Pivot for Excel, we have a cool feature that's going to create automatically for us that table. So we can select the date when it has been sold. We go inside Advanced, and we look for where is it? Okay, in Design, maybe in Design. Okay, in the Design tab, we can look for a date table, and new. We can create a new date table. So we separate the date table and the structure of that date table. So Excel or Power Pivot rather creates automatically that table for us with the date automatically adjusted according to the oldest date of our data model until the most recent date of our data model. So it starts on the 1st of January 2019 and goes all the way to the 31st of December 2020. So it's adjusted according to the dates that we have in our data model. Here again, Power Pivot includes some zero behind, okay, that we don't need, so we are going to remove them. We go to the Home tab, adjust that, we remove the time, we keep only the date. Here we have the year, we have the month number, the month in full. Actually, I like to adjust it to keep only 3 characters. So we have the formula that has been created automatically by Power Pivot. That's actually some DAX. That's the language specific to Power Pivot, which is called DAX. So Data Analytics Expression, DAX. All right, so we are going to keep it at 3 characters in short. I like it short, so it takes less place in visualization. Only 3 digits will be fine. We have the month and year, and we have the day of week number, okay, and the day of the week. All right. So with that, we need to do a little bit something. We need to design and mark our table as date, which is done automatically. Again, Power Pivot did that automatically, so it created that. So that's good. Let's make sure that months are properly sorted in correct order. So the default sorting will be alphabetically, and April will come first, but in a calendar month, it should be January 1st. So let's make sure that January appears first. So we need to inform Power Pivot and Excel that this column containing text should be sorted in a specific way. And for that, we are going to go in the Home tab, Sort and Filter, Sort by Column, and Sort by Column. And we are going to say by the month number. That's why we have the month number here. So month number, and we click OK with that. And we should do something similar with that as well, but we should have actually year and month. Let's do that after. We do the same with the day of the week as well, because otherwise, okay, it wouldn't be in the right order of Monday through Sunday. So we need to indicate to Power Pivot also that this column should be sorted by another column, which is the day of the week number, which is already done. So that's fine. We can click on OK. Now we need to sort that specific column in months within the year. So the January of 2019 should be before January of 2020, of course. So we are going actually to create a new column that we are going to call year months, and we are going to write some DAX especially for our data model. So let's call it year month, and column equal, and we use format. There are different way of achieving that format. So we are going to call the date. That's the one. So we reference the date column of the current table. So actually we should even call it, call the table. It's a good practice to call the table first, then the name of the column within that table, and we inform of the format for that specific for that. Okay. So the format is gonna be the year in 4-digit and the month in 2-digit as well. So 01, 02, 03, and so on. And we close our bracket. So we validate that, and we are going to have our column, well, our date represented as year and month. So 2019, 01, and so on and so on. And we can actually identify that as a whole number. And we can move our column also to another location. Okay, here. Now we have it. So now we can say to Power Pivot that this column containing the month in 3 characters and the year in 4-digit should be sorted by another column, which is going to be the year month that we just created. Okay. And now we are done with our calendar table that we have created with all the different components of our date. We can also eventually hide columns that we don't want, that we are not going to use in our model. So those columns containing numbers are mainly there for helping us sorting other columns. Once we have sorted the main columns that we want, we can hide the other one. They don't need to bother the report viewer in the data model. And what we need to do between those two tables, now we need to create a relationship between those two tables. So we click on diagram view, and we are going to select a field from one table and drop it in another table to create a relationship between those two tables, and inform Power Pivot that that data model forms one overall data set. So the date should be linked to the date sold. And the relationship here is going to be a 1 to many on the other side. And a filter applied on the date column will filter the date table. So that's what the little arrow here says, okay? Here we are just saying that we have a relationship, and one occurrence of one date in that table linked to another table that contains potentially multiple of that date, So we have a one-to-many relationship filtering from the calendar table to the data table. That's the relationship that we have. So let's go back to the data view. So I'm going to pick from the other one, on the other one, I have my measures that are created already, so I'm not going to manage measure to spend so much time with that. Actually, they are very simple also. Okay. So, well, we can continue with this one also, because now I first I didn't want to go to the other one to create the table from the other one, because we would have two tables, two calendars in the Power Pivot. Now that we have created all that, we need to create our measures, and that's what we have inside here. So we open Power Pivot. Here I have created already our measures. So I have used some very simple DAX, the sum of total. Then we have the sum of, not even, no, I am not, okay. Let's go up. Total quantity, very simple also, the sum of the total quantity of the column quantity. Very simple DAX, okay, nothing complicated. The average of the quantity and the average of sales as well. Average of sales as well. Okay, so very simple DAX. We have applied some specific format, data type. It shouldn't be decimal number, it can be whole number actually. Doesn't make sense. Whole number. Okay. And now we can go and create our dashboard. Okay, whole number. And whole number as well. Okay, very good. Okay, so now we can go and create our dashboard. So let's open a new tab. We name it dashboard number 2. And we are going to design our area where we are going to create our table. So what I like to do is change the background of all the cells. So we have a darker background for the entire sheet. So we are going to go in Home, look for the background color, the background fill. Let's make it white, darker, 25%. We can surely remove all borders. We don't want any border. So we have an overall background which is darker. Now we are going to change the background where we are going to design the dashboard itself. Okay. So let's select a range of cells, and let's say, okay, let's say it's fine like this, and we turn it back white. So now we have identified clearly the area that will receive the visualization with that. Okay, so we can insert the title of our dashboard. So we are going to go inside the Insert tab. Then we look for text and text box, and we design our text box somewhere up. Actually, also one trick, I can display that. I can display my ribbon. Go to Shape. If you want to review the size of your dashboard background, you can use that rectangle, and we have the size here. So we know that the width of, well, we can increase it a bit. Of the width of our dashboard, it's actually about 27 centimeters, which is fine. And the height is about 16 centimeters. So that's fine. It would fit in one paper. Okay. If we think about A4 format, 21 over, what is it? 29.7 over 21. that would fit in a paper. So if you want to print it, and if you want to transform it into PDF, that would work. Okay, that would work perfectly. That would fit in a PDF format. Okay, so that's perfect. The size is good. Okay, so let's resize that. We want to make it our title. Okay, let's type it inside. Okay, dashboard of business metrics, and we can center it inside our rectangle, and we are going to change the background as well, so we can design it nicely any way we want. Okay, we need to change the background of that. We are going to use maybe dark blue. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, let's make our text a bit bigger and maybe even bold. All right, very good, cool. So we are going to resize it slightly a bit. And we can give it some cool effects also, 3D, a little bit, not so much, but shape effects. We can give it a bit some shadow. What about this? No, that wouldn't be so nice. Maybe some shadow a bit. We can take this one. I'm going to readjust it a little bit. I click here, format shape. We are going to change a bit the effect of the shadow. I reduce it a bit. I don't want too much. 3 is fine, and for the distance, 2 will be fine as well. Something a bit subtle, not so much. We don't need so much. Okay, cool. Now we can insert our first visual inside. We have determined the area of our dashboard. We have given it a title. Now we can insert one of those charts, and we can use actually a pivot table. And because we have created a data model inside Power Pivot, we can create a pivot chart without passing by a pivot table. So if you are familiar with pivot table, usually you need to create a pivot table before creating a pivot chart. But because we have created a data model inside Power Pivot, we can then create a pivot chart based on the workbook's data model. So that can be quite powerful. We can use this workbook's data model, and the workbook's data model is in fact Power Pivot. Okay, so we use that, and we won't need to go by a pivot table. So we can place it inside our dashboard, and it's a pivot chart. So we have a pivot chart fields area on the right side that gives us the possibility to interact with the different tables of our data models. We can see that we have the calendar table, okay, and the data set table as well. And another table, because we created this one also. Remember, okay, we created this one that we did not rename at the beginning, so that's why. But you notice now the importance of naming your table correctly so that we can retrieve what table is what, okay? So we have our data set table and our calendar table. And those two, remember that the calendar is linked to the data set via the date column, okay? So whenever we pick a date from the calendar table, it's linked to the data set. Okay, so that's very important. So now we can drag and drop fields inside those different areas of our pivot table, of our pivot chart. So we have actually differentiated in the data set table what we call in DAX or in data models measures. Those are actually called measure with the fx before. Those identified measures that we have created earlier, okay, with the sum function, with the average function and everything. So we can use which one we have. Oh, and this one, okay, you might notice there is a different icon for this one. This is actually a KPI measure. So that's a very specific type of measure called a KPI. A KPI has a target measure and an actual measure. So, well, you have a goal that you want to achieve, and you have the current value of that measure. So, and the status shows if you have achieved that goal or if you're far away from that goal, the distance of that goal. Okay, so it can be represented in symbolically with red, green, blue, or symbols going up, down, expressing good, bad, or down, up, and so on. So anyway, let's concentrate on that value in particular that contains the total sales. We can click it, drag it to the values area, and automatically our chart is being designed. And we want to obtain, well, on the other one, we had the date. So let's keep it the same. We are going to keep the date, the month actually, from the calendar table. We want the month. We are going to take the month name. The month, we click it, we drag it to the axis area of our pivot chart. And because we have sorted the month column by the month number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Excel sorts those months automatically by calendar month number, January 1, February in between, okay, because I don't have enough space, but there is February, March, April, May, June, and so on. Okay, so it's in the correct order, very good. Then we want to have the year also as a legend, right? Because we want to represent both 2019 and 2020 differentiated. And well, now we have our different fields inside our pivot chart area. We can resize this a bit. And we can change that chart. We can right click on it and change the chart type to be now a line chart. Line chart, we click it here and we have now our line chart. Perfect. We can move the legend to be maybe above. So we have the legend is here. We can click on the arrow beside the legend and we are going to click on top. Very good. Let's give it a title as well. So we want to add a chart title. Chart title is here and we want it, where do we want it? Above the chart. Okay. Centered overlay. Okay. Maybe centered overlay because we are going to actually move it a little bit. Not that one. I want it. Okay, let's move this one and take this chart title up on the right side. Okay, here we go. And here we bring it back to the middle. Okay, in the middle here. Chart. So we have sales amount by month. And let's format this also a little bit nicely. We can select our title. We go in the format tab and we can also choose shape effects, little bit of shadow as well. Let's choose the first one and review the distance and the blur. So we are going to decrease the blur by 1 and decrease the distance by 1 as well to keep it subtle and simple. Now we are going to something quite often that we have with Uganda shillings, numbers are very quickly very big. So here we have in millions. Imagine you can really very quickly reach billions, of course. So we need to, well, we don't need the 1,000, okay. It will be fine if we have only 120. So we can change that and display that. We can see numbers, axis option. In the axis option, we can look for display units as 1,000 or millions. Okay, we can choose whichever, millions. So now we have 120 million. That's the most important. We don't need so much the rest. We can remove those lines. Okay, they are not necessary. So I select them and del to delete them. I can, if I want, display as well the month of February and everything. I go in the axis option and I can say that the vertical axis, or where is it? Where is it? Labels, interval unit, yeah, interval unit 1, isn't it? Distance from axis. Maybe we don't have enough space here. Okay. Otherwise, if we specify the interval unit to be 1, okay, we should be able to see February as well. I'm wondering, okay, maybe is it because we don't have space or we don't have data for February and so on? Looks weird. Okay. Months. We should have February. Yeah, we have in February. Okay. Tick mark, maybe interval 1. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's review that another time. We can remove also those things as well. So those we can go to pivot chart analyze and then remove the field buttons. Okay. And let's resize that a little bit. And now we have our one chart. We can eventually, if you want, smooth that. So we go to the fill and line, scroll down to the bottom, and we click on smoothed line to have a smoothed line. Okay, let's do that for the second one. Okay, same thing for the second chart. We move a bit faster. We can move also, we can remove the border line as well. No line for the border. This looks cool, clean, neat. Very good. Okay, let's do that for the second chart. Okay, insert. We go to pivot chart. We select a pivot chart. We select OK. We insert it wherever, it doesn't matter. Okay, we move it down a little bit. Now we are going to select, again, we go to our data set, we go to the total sales value, click, drag it to the values. We are going to look for our, let's do item. We click our item, we place them into the axis, and we have it. Now we are going to right click our chart, change the chart type, look for a bar chart, We click our bar chart, fine. It's a bit too cluttered. We have too much information. What we need to do, we need to filter that. We are going to use filter items, filter value. Yeah. Value filters. And here we have top 10. Look at that. Top 10. That's what we want. We want the top 10 of our product items by the total sales. Perfect. Let's click on that. We keep only the top 10. And if that's too much, we could have chosen the top 5. Okay, let's review that. Top 10. We are not limited to 10. We can choose 5. Okay, let's keep 5. Top 5 items. Boom, we have just 5. Let's increase. We have too much space in between. We select that. We go back to the format data series. We are going to click that and decrease the gap width. Okay. Okay, let's decrease that to maybe about 50. Okay, gain a bit space, a bit nicer. Okay, let's select our lines in between and remove them. They are not necessary, taking too much place. We don't need that one. Actually, we can transform that and display it as millions. Hopla, we click that and display units as millions. Hopla, we have it. Now, we can remove that. Right click, and delete. What we are going to do, we are going to display data labels much better. Yeah, 30. Remove our legend. We don't need it. Title. We double click the title and we name it top 5 items by total sales. Yeah, sales. And M in between bracket to indicate that it's millions. Okay, let's move it up right corner and adjust, do the same as for the other one. Also a slight background like this. Effect, okay, format tab, shape, effect, shadow. We click this one and we change the blue to 3 and the distance to 2. Okay, all right. Let's resize that a little bit. Boom, and place it inside also. We'll remove the borders that we have. No border, hopla, that's the one, border. No line border, we don't need. We click outside, it looks good. Let's remove also the pivot fields, the fields button that we don't need. Very good. Top 5 items by sales. Perfect. Let's give it maybe a slight background. Okay, light like this, that's gonna be nice. And this one as well. Maybe it could have been blue actually. We were in the blue, okay. And blue as well. Okay, cool. Very good. Okay, so now we have 2 charts on our dashboard. You imagine the rest, we need to continue. Let's include a slicer, new cool feature. We need to select one of those charts. We are going to include the calendar year. We right click on that year inside, right click, add a slicer. We select that. We have our slicer which is created. We need to, currently if I click on 2019, only that pivot chart is affected. Okay, 2020, that works. Okay, that works very well. We have 2 years and it changes. Perfect. Now we need to link it also to this one below. So for that, well, let's remove first the filter. We right click on it and we look for report connection. Report connection, we select that and we have all the different connection that we can establish with our pivot chart. So a good practice before doing that is to rename the pivot chart so that we can clearly identify them. So let's go in pivot chart analyze, change the name of that chart, that pivot chart, so PC underscore and sales by month. No space in the name of a pivot chart, no space. Underscore is fine, no space. Enter. Let's click the other one. Let's rename it also PC for pivot chart underscore and top 5 items. Now we have renamed our pivot table. We can select our slicer, right click on our slicer, look for report connections. Then we are going to indicate to Excel that this slicer is going to be connected to PC sales by month, which is this one. And it should be also filtering this one, which is PC top 5 items select. Okay, so when you have a large workbook with many pivot chart and pivot tables and many dashboards. Okay, it's important to name correctly your different pivot chart, otherwise you get confused and you get lost. And actually you have the sheet also indicated here in which that specific pivot table, pivot chart is located. So that's very helpful as well. So now we have selected our 2 pivot charts that are going to be affected by the filter. We can click OK and we test it also. Let me scroll down a bit. Okay, and 2020, boom, we have seen it has filtered this one and this one as well. It has changed. 2019, boom, it has changed as well. So that's working. Perfect. Awesome. Let's do the same now. Okay, we can resize that a bit. We can put them side by side. So we're going to go to the slicer tab and look for the columns. We want to have 2 columns and side by side. Awesome. Perfect. Now, okay, a little bit more. Okay, cool. Perfect. Let's create another slicer for the countries. We are going to go to, okay, we need to select a pivot chart. To have access to the pivot chart fields, let's expand the data set and the more fields, and we need to have the countries. Country, we can select our country, right click our country, right click and choose add a slicer. Awesome. We can do the same as well. We go to the slicer tab and we increase the number of columns. We want, okay, 4 columns. We increase that. We have actually 3 countries here. Let's remove the size and we can place it maybe on top here and resize this a bit. Okay, to come just below here. We can increase that a little bit. Okay, and we place it here. Okay, so now you can imagine that our dashboard is taking already very good shape. We have 2 visuals, we have our slicer, we can navigate between the different years, and soon we will be able to navigate between the different countries as well. We have not yet established the connection between our pivot table and the slicer, so we need to right-click that slicer, look for report connections, open the report connections dialog box. We can expand that a little bit and look for the 2 pivot charts that we want to connect with for our slicer. Let's click OK, and let's look like that it works correctly. Kenya, it works, it filters everything. Tanzania and Uganda. Perfect. Now what we can do as well, we can also display if we want. Okay, let's do that for this one. Just to give you an idea, we can, if we click 2 times on a data point, we select that specific data point. We can right click on that data point, right click, and choose add data label. It will add the data label only for that data point. We can place it just above, and that will help a bit better. Instead of looking and gouging a little bit, okay, what is it? We can place it just there to indicate that this is the highest, and it is at 29. So now we have it. So when we use Uganda or Tanzania, it remains there and it points, okay, a certain value inside our data set. Okay, so it's always there. Okay, well, we could even make it a bit more dynamic, but it's okay, it's fine already like this. Okay, so now it works. Okay, and we can do both. Okay, we can filter by Kenya for 2019. Awesome. 2020, what happened? And Uganda 2020, and we have everything. All right. Any questions so far? I haven't seen. Let's check. Do we have any question? Everybody sleeping?
No questions from me. It's going on fine.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. All right. Should we continue? So for the other one, for the other dashboard, we have also a map that we have created, and then we have some scorecard that we have created, and another chart at the bottom. When you can imagine, okay, for this chart, it's very simple. It's very similar to the one that we have created previously. So now we can maybe have a look quickly at one of those things, because they are very particular to create, and the map as well is quite specific. So let's add, we need to create, this time we need to create a pivot table. We are going to create a pivot table. Again, we use the workbooks data model, and click OK. And we want just one value. Actually, this one is very simple. That pivot table is going to be about the average sales that we click. Okay, I need to move that little the window here. Okay, average sales that we drag, okay, in the values area. Okay, so of course, okay, Excel messes up a bit with our thing, so we need to redesign our background dashboard, reselect the cells, again force Excel to recognize that as a grayish background, which is this one, and this, okay, remove all the borders that we don't want to see. So with that figure, we are going to transform that. That's advanced. Huh? We are going to transform that into convert to formulas. And now we have, in fact, the cube function that's used to calculate that specific value. Behind a pivot table, you have, okay, what we call cube functions. So here we have the cube value function. We are not going to see that, but we have the value that we want. That's the most important. And we have that. So actually, I forgot something before. Let's go back. We need to make it dynamic. We need to link. We need to, well, as usual, we go back to pivot table here, pivot table analyze tab, change the name to PV for pivot, or PVT for pivot table, underscore average sales. Very good. Click enter. All right. Now we need to indicate that those slicers are going to slice that data as well. So we have clicked that, we choose, okay, report connection, expand that, and PVT, this is the one. Okay, select. Do the same for the other one, right click that, report connection, and we are looking for PVT here. All right, very good. Now, okay, it has changed, our figure has changed. We go back to pivot table analyze, OLAP tool, convert to formula, and we have it. Now, when we change that, it changes our value as well. Very good. It all works good. Now we are going to insert a form, illustration. Now, which one is it? Yeah, shape. Yeah, here. Okay, shape. We choose, let's say, this one with the rounded corner. Very cool. We can place it just above that. Okay. Okay. Now we are going to link it. We are going to link it to the value inside. So what we want to display inside here should be equal to this value. Okay, enter. And now we have it inside. So let's change that. Inside, our font should be, let's say, white, and increase it. and we center it, or even make it at the bottom, in the middle, and bold, and okay, that value should be okay, yeah, like this. Perfect. And now we are going to place our title inside as well. So we need to insert a text box that we place inside, and we can call it so average sales. We can center that content inside, center vertically, center horizontally. We change the font to white, and we are going to remove the fill background to null, 0, nothing, and also actually no border, no line border, and we increase that a bit. And we have our average cell. Let's select both with the control key selected. We select also our other shape, and we go to the shape format. We can do an align center, right, to align them correctly inside, and group them. So we group them. Cool. Now we have our average. Yeah. And actually we can move that down there below to hide them. We don't need to see them. We change that to white. Cool. And now we have it. So you can imagine that if you want to have the average quantity, you would do the same step. So this is done. Now for our pivot table with the countries, with the map. For that, we need to follow the same procedure, okay? We are going to create, so again, insert a pivot table. We select our pivot table from a workbook data model. We click and drag the total sales to the values area. Then we look for the location. We can look for city, and in the row we place it there. So let's remove all that to white background. Okay, so if I want to create a map just based on a pivot table, it will never work. That's why we need to transform that pivot table into a function. So if I look for, actually this specific map is inside, which one? Is it the developer? No. Data. Insert. Ah, yes, it is in the insert. Where do I have it, this map? Maybe. Bing map, it's the one, it's here, it's this one. So actually it's a special add-ins. So if you don't have it, you need to add it to Excel. Bing maps, we can select it and add it to Excel. This one is a specific one. Okay, now that we have it, we need to select our data. So we go to the filter, we go to select data, and we indicate the range that we want. Dashboard M7, okay. I'm not so sure if it is the right one, but it must be the cells that I had selected before. So let's click OK. Has it worked? It has worked. Okay. Well, magic, it has worked, even though it's a pivot table. Okay, that's fine. What we need to do, again, we need to link or create a connection between those slicers and that newly created pivot table. Well, okay, I did not rename our pivot table, but that will be fine for now. Okay, pivot table number 4, and okay, let's do the same for the other slicer. Hopla, I didn't want to move it. Right click, report connection. We go down and we click on pivot table 4. Okay, and now we have it. Okay. Let's remove that, gain a bit space. Let's select our map. We place it inside, we resize it to fit inside our dashboard, and that's it. So we can eventually zoom a bit out to review. Okay, we have Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, we have Mombasa in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, and Jinja, Entebbe, Kampala. So we can zoom inside Uganda, move that map. Okay, we can see, okay, the sales in Jinja are higher than Kampala and Entebbe, and we can navigate between the year. Has it worked? Yeah, it's working. Okay. And what if we select Uganda? Okay, Uganda, yeah. So now it focuses on Uganda. Then we have Tanzania. Maybe it takes a bit time for the map, I don't know, to adjust. Okay. Yeah, I have both actually. I selected both. Okay, Tanzania. And yeah, now we have. Okay, it seems there is like a little bug because I still see some point inside here. Okay, Uganda. We should see only Uganda. Okay, so maybe there is a little bug with the data that we would need to review. But okay, you got the concept now. Okay, we have Uganda. Maybe it takes a bit time to adjust also because of the connection and everything. Because of course it interrogates the internet to point those data in the map. Okay, so. All right, well, you imagine the concept. We have created our dashboard. Now we have our different visualization and our slicers that filter our data by country. We can see that the average is adjusted. The map moves as well. Well, maybe not accurately as we would imagine, but okay, there are maybe a few things that will need to be fixed and adjusted, but otherwise we can see that it works correctly. It seems to take a very long time, huh? I mean, to adjust. Okay. Tanzania. Hello, Tanzania. Okay, Tanzania. At least does visual work very well. Okay, they are adjusting correctly. Kenya, Uganda. Hello. Hopla. Now we have, okay, the value for Uganda and 2019 and 2020. Okay. A little bit slow, but that works. Great. I think we are done with that. We have created a dashboard of different metrics representing our data set in different ways. We have gone through Power Pivot, a little bit of DAX, a little bit of relationship between two tables, number format, types, data types as well, with the location, geography data types. So it was quite a rich session. Now, if you want, you can always unmute yourself and ask questions if you want, or post them in the chat and comment or ask however you want. If you found it interesting, if you think you will be able to reproduce the same.
Yes, well, for me the chat is muted, so I cannot chat. I think generally the chat is muted. But I think it's very interesting. If I follow it step by step, I think I can be able to reproduce the same, maybe at a much slower pace. Also, the network, the connection there's been a bit of an interference. So most times you're on like point B and we're still in point A, and the volume is, of point B, and the action we see of point A. So it has been a bit confusing to connect between the 2 points where you are and what the internet is giving us. So yeah, but that is not on your side. It's entirely on the side of our internet connection and wherever we are. But generally, I think it's good. It's interesting to follow, and I will try it out definitely by myself. You also did mention somewhere in the Excel table before we came here, I think the step before we came here, when we were in Power Query, I believe, you mentioned something like DAX. It was maybe like an addition or some function, and you called it DAX. Why did you call it DAX and maybe not function, or what does it mean?
Yeah, so actually it's Power Pivot, and within Power Pivot, the specific language used to manipulate the data and create what we call measures like those one, the language is called DAX, which is a specific language to query the data. And DAX is an abbreviation meaning data analytics expression. That's what DAX means. And it's just the name of the language used to query the data. And it's a powerful querying language to create the measures that we need. So it's slightly different from, well, it's very different, in fact, from Excel functions. So it's in Power Pivot.
So Power Pivot is the same as Power Query, or there are two different things?
No, there are two different things indeed. Okay, so Power Query is more the tool used to extract data from an external data source and transform the data. So Power Query is used to extract, transform, clean the data, do a lot of transformation of the data, merge data together or separate them, reshape it, and a lot of things like that. Now, Power Pivot is more for data modeling, so creating the relationship between the tables and all those measures as we have seen. That the relationship between the different tables, that's what allows the interactivity between the slicer and the different charts that are there. So that's done within Power Pivot. So Power Query for cleaning the data, and Power Pivot for modeling the data and creating the measures.
Okay, maybe just one relationship that I want to try and relate to Power Pivot. I could be wrong. So you say Power Pivot is for data modeling and creating relationships, yes, between data
Yes.
sets. So in a way, it works the same as Power BI, like, oh.
So yeah, exactly. Those tools are exactly the same in Power BI. So as I was saying at the beginning of the session, is that those tools that we have, like Power Pivot and Power Query, we can retrieve them in Power BI. So if you are familiar with Power Pivot, Power Query, then it's the same in Power BI. Indeed, the tools are the same.
Okay, so one last clarification. So Power Query exists in both Power Pivot and Power BI, or Power BI has both Power Query and Power Pivot? I'm confused a bit.
So Power Query exists in both Excel and in Power BI. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same tool that processes the data for the transformation and cleaning of the data. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Maybe as I'll do a bit more, I'll understand. But yeah, I'm still a bit confused with the Power Pivot and its existence and how it relates to other tools. But yeah, it has been an interesting class for me. Thank you.
Yeah. So mainly, okay, the most important thing certainly in Power Pivot is, well, one thing as we can see now on the screen is the relationship between different tables. And that's what we call a data model. A data model is composed of different tables that are going to contain information about our data and the relationship that we have between those two. So something which is very classic in business intelligence is the relationship between, well, it's the existence of a date table. In all data model, we have a date table that contains different information of our date. And there is always a relationship between that date table with our main data set. So, and that's a very simple model, because in more complex model, we would have a specific table containing all the information from our client. So we wouldn't have the information of our client inside the data set table, but we would have a specific table that contains information about our client, the address, the phone number, the main contact of the main company, and so on and so on. That would be in a separate entity. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Any other question? I see we still have a little bit some people. Was it clear for everybody? Okay. Very good. Okay. Well, if there is no other question, thank you very much for your participation, and I wish you a very good evening. Again, if you wish to keep updated about the different activities that we have and the group, you can join our group, which is called in Meetup, Microsoft Business Intelligence Uganda Group, and you can keep updated about the activity of the group when we have different events, and you can even propose different subjects if you want to see something specific, you know, discuss about Power Query, for example, or Power BI the next time. You could suggest that specific topic to review. Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you very much for your participation again, and I wish you a very nice evening.